Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. I've been doing videos since the start of the pandemic. In fact, our channel goes back way before 2020. But I can tell you that one of the most surprising things for me personally has been the amount of fraud associated with PPP loans, that's the Paycheck Protection Program, associated with EIDL loans, the Economic Injury Disaster loans, and fraud associated with stimulus checks, fraud associated with unemployment benefits. But nothing is more surprising than this story that you see on your screen, published by CNN. He faked PPP loan applications, got the money, then spent it on a Lamborghini and Rolex. Now he's serving 9 years in prison. Folks, Lee Price, a 30-year-old Houston man, was sentenced to 9 years in prison for using money he got that was intended for pandemic relief funds. He used that money to buy cars, a watch, and pay off a home loan. In fact, he was sentenced on charges of wire fraud and money laundering for submitting fake PPP loan applications to 2 different lenders on behalf of 3 different businesses, according to the Department of Justice. Now remember, the PPP loans were introduced to help keep small businesses afloat and their workers employed during the pandemic. This program actually ended on the 31st of May in 2021 in this year. In fact, federal investigators have identified more than $500 million in fraud and charged 474 people with crimes related to stealing of money from U.S. COVID relief funds. Now, through these loan applications, Price tried to get more than $2.6 million, and he successfully received more than $1.6 million in PPP loan funds. In fact, he applied for and received 2 PPP loans 1 month apart, and he spent the funds allocated within the same month. Now, here's an interesting comment from Price's attorney, Tom Berg, who said this to CNN in a statement. Mr. Price recognizes that the stiff sentence imposed today by Judge Gilmore was triggered both by his fraudulent conduct in this PPP loan case and by the rather ragged criminal history he brought to the table. The court found that he did fully accept responsibility by unconditionally pleading guilty to the indictment. Now, folks, this is astonishing. On the first loan application, Price requested a PPP loan of $752,452 for a construction company on behalf of an Ohio resident who died before the date the application was even submitted. On the same application, Price claimed that the construction company employed 30 employees and had an average monthly payroll of $300,981. Guess what? There were no employees and no payroll. To support the first fraudulent PPP loan application, Price submitted fake tax records according to the Department of Justice and a fake driver's license. Price electronically signed a supplemental form for the first PPP loan on the 3rd of May 2020. 18 days later, he used $85,000 of the loan money to buy a 2020 Ford F-350 from a car dealership in the Houston area. On the second loan application, dated the 10th of May 2020, Price requested $937,500 on behalf of a second company and claimed it had 50 employees and an average monthly payroll of $375,000. But again, there were no employees and no payroll in this example as well, according to court records. I want you to really think about that. The extent of the fraud is mind-blowing. In fact, the second application required Price to declare if he was a subject of any pending criminal activity, pending criminal charges, or probation or parole, to which he said no. Price lied because public records show that he was facing felony charges for tampering with a government record in Harris County in Texas. Now, surprisingly, the second application was approved and Price electronically signed for the funds on the 23rd of June 2020. 3 days later, he used $14,343.13 to buy a Rolex watch, and the following day, he used $233,337.60 to buy a 2019 Lamborghini, according to court documents. Overall, the Department of Justice and law enforcement seized more than $700,000 of the funds that Price fraudulently obtained. Now, he'll also have to give up the Lamborghini, the Ford F-350, and the Rolex watch. Here's another comment from Berg. Mr. Price hopes that others will learn from his reckoning that there is no easy money. He has the balance of the 110-month sentence to reflect, repent, and rebuild his misspent life. Now, Price is in custody in Texas because his bond was actually revoked in August 2020, pending designation by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. The judge recommended that he be housed at the Federal Correctional Facility in Bastrop, Texas. Now, he has appealed his case. Folks, this is just mind-blowing. Let me know what you think of this story in the description section below. I can tell you that there has been a lot of fraud. There have been cases of convicts inside jail who've been able to successfully get unemployment benefits. There have been examples like Price, where individuals got PPP money that they were not supposed to. And most shockingly, there have been large companies that have blatantly just taken the money and not hired their employees back. Now, I can tell you that Price is, he's an interesting character who stole money, and he is facing justice. But there have been large companies who took the money, did not hire their employees back, and some of them, when they were reported in the media, they paid the money back. But none of those executives, none of those companies actually went to jail. None of the decision makers in those companies went to jail. This again tells us how messed up our system is, and how the entire pandemic, while it created an opportunity for the government to send out stimulus money, to expand unemployment benefits, to offer these loans, it also opened up opportunities for unscrupulous characters, for criminal activity, for fraud, for the use of taxpayer-funded money. In fact, this is money that we don't even have, because this is money that we are borrowing from our future. But it opened the doors to hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money that was fraudulently obtained, fraudulently used by crazy characters like this, and by companies who bend the rule of law to their advantage. Because at the end of the day, corporate America is deeply intertwined with the US government. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. This right here is a little bit of information about me. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. Thank you so much. Also, here's my Twitter feed. My Twitter handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.